Hello, everyone. How are you doing this fine Monday night? Well, this is some Monday night madness stuff to us. We have tonight, Together We Break the Chain, and me, myself, and I, April Showers. First, I want to thank the higher power for allowing us to have this show. I want to make sure I give praise to him every time I come on the show.
Amen.
Also, I want to thank Together We Break the Chains for all of her knowledge and input that she shares with me.
You're
I
welcome.
can't thank you enough. And what I'm going to do, the link is posted because this can't be an open panel. So, what I want to talk about tonight, as you can see on the screen, Charles Barkley is not a spokesperson for the Black community. And no, you're not Charles. Sir Charles, you have never been. Sir Charles, I'm sorry that you are not black and proud. Sir Charles, I'm so sorry that you feel like you have to diss black people in order to make it. So just to give you a little history, Charles Wade Barkley is a NBA Hall of Famer. He is a former basketball player and he played for several teams. Currently, he is a television analyst on TNT. Charles Barkley recently has been under fire by the black community for making statements that black people don't treat the LGBTQ community right. So Charles Barkley always has something to say degrading black people. You don't have that right to say me as a black person, a black beautiful goddess over here. You don't have that right to say how I treat someone from the LGBTQ community. Charles Barkley also has made statements saying unintelligent African Americans who embrace thug culture and criticize others that they are not being black enough. Let me let that marinate to you. Charles Barkley says if you, most of us African Americans slash black people, we embrace the thug culture and criticize others that we feel are not black enough. He says for some reason we are brainwashed to think if you're not a thug that you're not black enough. He says then on the other hand, he comes back and says, if you go to school, make good grades, speak intelligent, and don't break the law, you are not a good black person. That's a lie. All black families encourage the majority of black families encourage their children to go to college. So, Mr. Barkley, instead of you always dissing us, what have you ever done to help us? Why don't you start going to some recreational centers and speaking to black boys, being a black mentor? Because everybody that's black grew up in different households and different situations. Now, what I'm getting ready to do right now, this show is being handed over to Together We Break the Chain. I'm going to mute my mic, go share the show, and I need people to realize, and I'm going to have to make sure I realize that we are on a 10-second delay. So it may appear that people are cutting people off, but due to the delay, that is the problem. And so together we break the chain. You have the show while I go share the show. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Miss April. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're talking about Mr. Charles Barkley. Earlier, I had a conversation with my son, and he brought up some pretty interesting things. He said instead of our regular words that we use to describe black people, which quote unquote we label as self-hating racist, he stated that we need to get away from the word coonery because it is not really depicting who he is. He's just a person that speaks without thinking at times, and it does cause a lot of controversy. So I'm going to talk about 5 instances where Charles Barkley literally had controversy follow him. And now today, you think that, like Miss April said, you think that you're the spokesperson for all black people. You're not. Please don't even try to give yourself that label, and don't even fall into the trap, because a lot of times the news media, they will try to make you accept this label as you being the spokesperson for your nationality when nobody handed that to you. Don't even touch the baton because it doesn't belong to you. So one of the things that I can remember, it happened in 1991 with Mr. All of a sudden clean cut Charles Barkley, is he was playing the Philadelphia 76ers in 1991, and he was provoked by one of the fans that was, shouting out racial slurs to him. And Charles Barkley got angry, and he decided to take the matters into his own hands, and he tried to spit on the fan, which is an assault. And to make things even worse, he missed his target badly and ended up spitting on an innocent young girl in the stand. So you're supposed to be the one that's our spokesperson. Okay, number 4, he was caught driving under the influence of alcohol. Now, when you call yourself being the spokesperson for any group, whether it be black, Asian, um, uh, Latino, Hispanic, whatever one you want to put it, or any other race, you have to have, pretty much a clean background. You can't have anything that somebody could come up and use against you. So in 2009, Charles Barkley was arrested by cops for drunk driving on New Year's Eve. He was also guilty of running a red light on the same day and ended up serving 5 days in jail. And so I'm not trying to, this is public information, okay? But he did, as my son say, they do things, say things that are controversial, and either one or two things: you have to say you're sorry, or you have to cape to them, or you have to just go ahead and say, you know what, I'm gonna stand on what I said, and I'm gonna go ahead and let them take this job from me. But majority of the time, people don't want to lose that income, so what they'll do is they will definitely say I'm sorry and cape for the other side. We've seen it with, and I'm not saying it about Kyrie Irving, but with Kyrie Irving, of course, there was nobody there to truly back him up the way he needed to be backed up. So, of course, he did his apologies and he did his donations. Kanye West is standing on everything that he's saying, and he's not buckling. And I think that he is their worst problem. I think that he's the one that's shaking everything up. He's shaking it up like really bad because they wanted him to bow down, to buckle down, and to retract, and he won't do it. So, to me, instead of everybody calling him names, trying to jump on the bandwagon, trying to side with the other side, or I forgot the word that they use, but some people need to just sit back, shut up, mind your business. If no one asks you a question, now if they ask you a question, then I can see you involving yourself. But if nobody asked anybody a question, then why are you involving yourself in somebody else's business? Whatever Kanye West is doing, he didn't ask for anybody to speak on his behalf. He didn't ask anybody for their opinion. So I feel like everybody, even Charles Barkley, the LGBTQ community did not ask you for your opinion. One of the things that I heard him say was that how when Black people, because we have a religious background, this is something that we have all learned to come up in. Some people later walked away, which is their choice. And so Charles Barkley was saying how a lot of Black people were shunned out of the family because of their lifestyle being LGBT, or it's being gay, being homosexual, being lesbian, being whatever it is. And so he was talking against that, saying that we should not never have done that. He don't agree with it, but you can't tell somebody how to live their life. You can't tell somebody what to accept. You can't tell somebody if that's something that they're going to agree to. For some reason, in this time period that we are in, it seems as though if you don't agree with certain people, they will try to bully you or label you in order to get you to change your views in your mind to agree with their narrative. And I don't think that that's fair. That's not being fair at all whatsoever. And we need to stop doing that as a people. Hello, James Money. How are you today? We need to stop doing that as a people. And we need to all be able to exercise our own thoughts, our own beliefs, as long as we are not physically harming anyone, as long as we're not calling them a slur word. If you say to one of your relatives, well, you know what, if my upbringing, that I'm a God-fearing person, and in the Bible I believe what it says and I believe it to be factual, and as your cousin you say you want to bring your same-sex partner to my house for dinner, if I don't agree with it, you know don't go around and start rallying and start trying to get people to come up against me. Just respect my views. I respectfully decline, your invitation, so be respectful to me. And now it seems today that if you disagree, like even with Charles Barkley, if you disagree with him, he got so many people that agree with his same ideology that he will even have those people coming up against those that don't necessarily agree. You can't do that. We have a constitution, and it seems like, they are trying to forfeit our rights on the constitution. Like, we're not supposed to exercise our constitutional rights. And I don't think that is cool. I don't know what's going on and how it's happening. So let me see. Charles Barkley has also spoken about political and politics in 2019, and threatened to in 1993. Sorry, the MVP threatened to hit a female reporter. And why would you want to do that? Are you hitting on any other females? So these are things that I'm saying. You want to act like you're clean collar, but you got to remember there are things that you have done as a public person, being in the public eye, that is always going to come back and hit you. And nobody is like looking at you like you're credible. The only people that are looking at you like you're credible are the ones that agree with your narrative. Okay, so after he did that, trying to hit the woman again, he apologized. All right. So, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then they said something about he later apologized to McCummon for his insensitive remarks and said that he was just trying to make a joke. You can't be trying to make a joke if you're attempting to hit a woman. There's nothing about a strong, aggressive body language that says that it's a joke. When you show as a man strong body language and aggressive body language towards a woman, it's a threat all day. There's no joking about that unless you sat there and did a skit together or a prank and she's in on it. Then there's no way that you could possibly say that it was a joke. So no. Okay, another thing, let me see, he did something else. People had called him out in 2020 about his remarks that he made about Breonna Taylor. And it says Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old woman, was fatally shot by the police in Louisville in March of 2020. The police officer involved were not appropriately punished by the court, and people around the country are furious about the lack of justice. Charles Barkley, however, spoke in favor of the cops and said that Breonna Taylor's death is not comparable to some of the other recent deaths that happened in the country due to police brutality. So this is something else that he said so stupid. And I think a lot of times his mouth get away and ahead of his brain, and he's not really thinking. The number one thing he did, that was number two. The number one thing he did was throwing a man out of a window in a bar. So what sparked that? In 1997, the Hall of Famer was in the news again as he was charged with aggravated battery and resisting arrest by the police. Inside a bar in Orlando, Charles Barkley hurled a man through a window because he was bothering him. Talking about the incident, he said, "If you bother me, I'm going to whip your, you know what." The guy threw ice in my face, and I slammed his A into the window. I'm not denying that. I defend myself. He got what he deserved. So how is it that we can sit up here and say that this guy here, who is a loose cannon, it could be a possible spokesperson for us black people in America? No way, it won't happen. And I'm not here for it. So he needs to go on to sit down and mind his business. But then they said on a post September the 8th, I believe it is, or August the 9th, one of it. It's the way they have it written. It's confusing. Okay, August the 9th, 2022, Shaquille O'Neal and him, had a disagreement about something that Charles Barkley had said. And Shaquille O'Neal said he would have supported Charles Barkley if he left their gig at Inside the NBA on TNT to pursue the commentating role with the controversial Saudi-backed LIV golf series. So he always has something to say. He's always putting his mouth in something. Nobody's asking him, that I know of, any questions. And he just feels like he just has to open his big mouth. He just has to say something. So, Miss April, if you're here, is there anything you have to say to add on to what I said?
Okay, I am here. We are on a delay, so that's why I wait now, because it makes it seem like we're trying to overtalk each other, and I'm going to do my best to remember that. No, I just think Charles Barkley does not represent the black community. Um, he is not a spokesperson for me. He cannot say that I don't like the LGBTQ community. He can't speak for how I feel about these people.
Right.
Now, I can't help it. You have a son. See, this is what I'm saying. They use us. And I'm going to go back again to Sonny and Cher. Cher had a daughter. Cher had a daughter. Cher's daughter transitioned from a girl chastity to avoid chads. You did not see Cher on every platform. You did not see Cher running around talking about her child. It was her child's decision, and she accepted it, but she had nothing to prove to anybody.
Right.
Us, us. Now, just because your son is gay, that's fine. You deal with what's going on in your house with your son, but you're not going to sit up here and tell me because I'm black, I treat them differently. First of all, I treat people fair. Like I said, I don't have nothing against the alphabet people. Don't shove it down my throat. Then I don't need a person like Charles Barkley. You want to tell me how I am supposed to feel about this? No, you don't get that right. And I'm sick of these black men, all of these people that are going against black people and not respecting our views nor opinions. Now, I can say there are white people that don't accept it.
Right.
So, but I haven't heard any white person come out. I haven't seen this as much as you black people, you black athletes that are parading your children around. You want to put it in my face. Then you want me to accept. And if I choose not to accept this, then you want to say I ain't nothing? That's not fair.
Right.
Sir Punk Charles, a big bully. You get on your TV show and you degrade blacks. Now, let me tell you something. I'm sick of you saying what blacks don't accept. Black people have accepted everything thrown in their faces for years, and we're not stopping now. Now, just to clear something up with you, Mr. Sir Charles Barkley, who is not a spokesperson for the black community, and I just can't stand him and Shaq right now because all you people are doing is you're clout chasing. You're clout chasing.
Exactly.
Just as many, there are just as many people of all races, not just the black community, Sir Punk Charles, that might not want this. They have that right. They don't have to accept it. It's my right. It's their right. This is for people of all races. They might not
Exactly.
want, they might not want their child to come sit at their table dressed as a transgender. They have that right. If they gave child a birth to a boy, some people, that's how they're going to always look at their child. You can't make people conform to what you want them to, Sir Punk Charles. Since you've accepted your child, Sir Punk Charles, I congratulate you. I congratulate you, Sir Punk Charles. That's great that you have accepted that your child is gay. That's fine. That's your household. That's your child. But you have no right to speak for me or anybody else on a Black community on how we may feel. I'm going to mute my mic for you to speak together.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, I don't understand because it was like this uh damnable type of situation. You're damned to hell. When all these people did not have children, you would hear them making controversial anti-gay, LGBT comments, but as soon as they have a child that steps into that lifestyle, now they're telling you, oh, don't worry about it. But you forget about what you said prior to you giving birth to a child that is having some second thoughts about who they are. And one of the biggest people is TD Jakes. He used to talk about hell bounding, when it came to people being in the lifestyle, and he would definitely sit people down and shun them and shame them and tell them they're going to hell. But as soon as you had a child, a son, and your son came out to you and said, I'm attracted to the same sex, then all of a sudden you are like, oh, I wouldn't worry about that. So why is it that it was okay for you to be so strict, so harmful, so vulgar and bold, telling other people that their kids are going to hell and that the parents needed to find out why? I mean, you had all this stuff to say. That goes to all the parents. You had all these things to say until your child turned around and told you that they're attracted to the same sex. Then all of a sudden, everything that you said has now changed. God's word does not change. His word says what it says. And you can read it in the book. If you guys have never heard of the book of Sodom and Gomorrah, you might want to read that book. But a lot of times I hear, and this is not a bash anybody, this is not a hate crime, hate speech, or whatever you guys want to label it because you don't like what we're saying. All I'm saying is this: people have continued to say that it doesn't say anything in the Bible about people being LGBTQ, and it clearly does. I don't know the exact scripture, but I've read it where it tells us not to wear men's attire as women, and not to lay with women as we would lay with a man, and for a man not to lay with another man as a woman, and for a man not to wear women's attire. What about that is confusing? What about that's in the Bible that is not speaking to that very situation? Now, I don't know how you got to your conclusion. I don't know how you became attracted to the same sex. That's a journey that you're going to have to take on your own. But don't come and tell people that they have to, you better, or you're going to go to jail if you don't accept that. That is taking away a person's rights. Now, if there was something that you did not agree with in your life, and something that you will stand on your 2 feet on, you will stand on it. Treat what we feel about that situation. We don't hate the individual. We don't hate them for being in that lifestyle. We just want them to know the truth, and let the truth, when they hear the truth, let them make their decisions based on the truth. Don't keep lying and covering up the truth, but let the truth be told. Let the truth be read. Let the truth be seen. And once they see, know, and have read the truth for themselves, let them come up with their own conclusion. You know, because if somebody is continuously feeding you a bunch of lies, and then you go somewhere where you get the truth, and you're trying to have a conversation with somebody based on a bunch of lies that somebody continuously fed you, and when you finally hear the truth, it's going to rock your world. So, we need to, and I know that is going in different directions, but it all goes into the same thing. Charles Barkley is pretty much trying to force people. But when Magic Johnson's son came out, I didn't hear Magic Johnson say anything. I literally did not hear anything said by him. He just went ahead and accepted his son for who he was and let him live his life. He didn't throw it up in our faces every 5 seconds. Oh, look at this Snapchat. Oh, look at this picture. Look at this Instagram picture. Oh, look at this Facebook post. Oh, look at this. Look at that. He didn't do any of that. Magic Johnson didn't do any of that. He didn't say anything about we need to accept that I have seen. I'm talking about what I have seen. I have not seen or heard him tell people that they have to accept it. Now, what people don't understand is the enemy, the devil, he's very clever. He will make you think that something that is wrong is correct. He will have you so convinced that what is wrong is correct, and you will continue to live. That's why the Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." We have to be educated. Now, I don't like putting it out there, but my cousin gave me permission. I spoke to my cousin, and my cousin was in that lifestyle for years. And I spoke to her. I didn't put her down. I didn't talk crazy to her. And I told her simply, you know what the Bible says. You know where you came from. You know what happened. You know all these things. And you know it's a trick. So you have to make a decision. I can't live your life for you. And I'm not the spokesperson for all heterosexual people either. I'm just saying that if it's brought to me, I'm going to lovingly talk to you about it. And whether you accept it or not, that's your walk of life, not mine. I've told you what I said, and that's it. Now, Gabriel Union and Dwayne Wade, I truly believe that this is a money pull, a money grab, and a financial gain for them, because I heard and read that instead of Gabrielle Union taking that child to a real therapist that can talk to this child and get to the deeper root of what's going on, she decided that she wanted to take this baby to the cast of a TV show called Pose. Now, Pose is a TV show talking about and showing you the life and the things that happen in the LGBTQIA community with the what do you call them? The I don't want to call them drag queens. So it talked about their struggle in being accepted. The first artist that came out with their music that literally gave them a foot in the door so that they could come out and be more free, as they put it. So instead of you going to a counselor, you want to go to the cast of Pose. First of all, they are not counselors. They are not qualified to counsel anyone. And all they can do is tell them about their life story. But that child needs somebody to talk to them about what's going on with them now, a professional, not actors and actresses where you can get notoriety. And one of the things that made me understand first is when that child had a sit down with Michelle Obama. I first felt like, okay, now they're exploiting this baby. What does the first lady have to do with this child being a transgender? What does that have to do with it? So I feel like they are making money off this child. I feel like the courts should grant that mother that petition that you cannot change your identity until you are at least 18. There are videos on YouTube right now circulating where you have children. This one little girl, she looks just like a boy because she has started taking the hormones. She had all her ducts, the breast ducts and things of that nature removed out of her chest. She had other, like the bottom surgery. And so she went before the legislator, and I'm going to try to find that so that Miss April can pin it. And she's speaking to them, telling them, in this dress, she looks like a boy in a dress. That's how far her mother went to try to change her. And she straight out said that her mother did it for clout. Her mother was being socially accepted when she was not being accepted before. And now that your daughter wanted to transition into a boy, which was the mom's idea, then the mother became popular and a slew of friends. And so this child is saying, look, you have to stop it, because parents are now using that as a social ladder, using their kids to get these changes. And these are not things that we truly want. We're being told this is what we want. So, of course, we don't want to disappoint mom, and we don't want to disappoint dad and family. So we go along with it until we get a voice of our own. But by that time, it's already too late. So this is why I say that Charles Barkley is dangerous, trying to speak on behalf of our community, because we have enough people in our community that are confused. A lot of these individuals that are going through these um, uh, sexual identity crisis, to be respectful, is because they were actually touched. And I had the opportunity to speak to a number of people that are in that lifestyle, and they were so open and honest with me. When they went to counseling, they found out that when they were very young, somebody in the family or a family friend had been touching them, and they blocked it out for so long, that they didn't realize it until they actually went through the therapy and did the homework. So sometimes it's not, there's no way a child could be born and say that they like the opposite sex. They don't even know their name. They don't know anything. They are helpless until someone does something and violate them. They can remember that thing and tuck it away. Like, we have certain things that happen to us that other people remember, and they say, hey, you remember this? And you're like, no, but it truly happened, especially if it was
Okay.
traumatic. We can bury
Okay.
traumatic situations.
Right. But okay, back to the Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley cannot speak for me. Like I said, I don't have anything against people in the LGBTQ community. And for him to make a statement that black people are mistreat them is such a false statement to me. We love our people no matter what. We are accepting of everything. I don't care, like I said, what anybody is doing. That's their right. Charles Barkley needs to deal with what's going on with his house, and he don't need to be saying how I feel, because I'm part of the black community, because I would never mistreat anybody from the LGBTQ community. I would never diss them. I would never talk about them. I respect everybody's views, opinions, because you don't have to answer to me. But for you to say that black people mistreat these people, like we're the only race that don't accept this. This is happening in all races, all races. And so, Charles Barkley, you need to go sit down somewhere. You do not speak for me. You need to worry about your house, your child, and what's going on in your house. If people choose to not accept this, they have that right to do that. If people choose to not want to attend a wedding, that's their right and it should be respected. But don't sit up here and say, I mistreat these people. Charles Barkley, you are a big bully. You are punk. In my book, and you just don't represent us. You cannot speak for how I feel because I'm never going to harm them. I'm going to speak to them and I'm going to keep it moving. They don't have to answer to me. That's it. That's all. I get upset because I'm tired of these people that they want to put as a spokesperson for the black community. He's making it seem like we hate these people, we mistreat them, we're going to harm them. No, no, Charles, you punk. No, you don't speak for me. You do not speak for me, nor the black community. And you're only doing this. And most people that I know that have children or family, we go on about our normal lives. We're not looking for people to justify our actions on how we feel about someone in our family who is part of the LGBTQ community. We love them. I've made my statement. I love those people. I have nothing against them. So who in the hell are you to say that black people are the only people that causes harm to the LGBTQ community? The guy that went into Colorado Springs, Colorado, and shot up the people in that gay club, that was a white shooter, dude. A white shooter, Charles Punk Brat Barkley. No, you don't get that right. And I'm sick of these people who they've deemed spokespeople, spokesman, spokeswoman, spokesperson for the black community.
Right.
You guys come up with a narrative and you want everyone to jump on a bandwagon with you. No, Charles. I love them. I love them, but I'll never mistreat them. And you
Right.
don't get that right to say that, Charles. Punk
Right.
Barkley.
Right. That's truth. That's facts.
You
That's
just don't
facts.
get that right. You don't get that right to speak for any black person. Again, it was a white shooter that went into that nightclub shooting those people in Colorado Springs, Colorado, when they were going out having a great good time, dancing and everything. Those people did not deserve to be shot and killed due to the lifestyle they have chosen. So why don't you, Charles Punk Barkley, why don't you go interview these white shooters that have walked into nightclubs and killed people from the
Mm-hmm.
LGBTQ community?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go try to find Dahmer's father and talk to him, where he killed and ate men from the LGBTQ community?
Mm-hmm.
Charles Barkley, in my closing statement, you don't represent me, nor can you speak for me, and I'm sick of you people. You trying to force something down my throat. Charles Punk Barkley, I really think you got issues with your son. I really do. So you got to go put and blame it on the black community. You
Right.
the one with the problem,
Right.
punk. That's what it's all about. You the one with the problem.
Mm.
So my closing statement, I just want to say, you don't speak for me as a woman in the Black community that was taught to love everyone. These the LGBTQ community does not have to answer to me. They don't have to answer to me. But at the same time, if that's what you want to do, I'm accepted. But just, you know, people like Charles Barkley want you to accept this. He's trying to say, if you don't accept it, and most people that don't accept it is from the Black community, and I really feel like Charles Barkley is wrong because Black people, we have loved, we have forgiven people. We do this all the time. We forgave
Mm.
Joe Biden.
Yep.
We forgive these people. We done forgave Joe Biden for sending all of these Black people to jail. We forgive, we forgive, we forgive. Charles Barkley, you're pitiful and a pathetic human being to try to put this on the Black community, making this type of statement. And I'll let you give your closing statement together.
Okay. So it's not just Black Americans, white Americans. There are people overseas in different countries that have issues more than we do with that lifestyle. And I want to bring up Brittany Griner for one. They are punishing her for her lifestyle. That is my opinion. I don't believe that if she was a part of the LGBTQ community, Russia would be treating her in the manner in which they're treating her. There are other countries. Why are you blaming us solely? And as Miss April said, you don't speak for me. You don't speak for our people. These opinions that you have are solely your own opinions, sir. Stop trying to be so intellectual. Stop trying to be so deep. Stop trying to be so prolific because you're not. If you want to be deep, prolific, and so intellectual, speak the truth. Speak the truth. And I pose a question to you, something that Miss April said. Do you really have a problem with your child's sexuality? And now, because you do, you want to hide behind it and blame the Black community instead of being a man and saying, you know what, you guys, I'm sorry, but I need to speak my truth. I have a problem with it and I need help to deal with it. Don't go blame it on somebody else. That's like, you having a conversation with the Black community and something is said and you put your opinion in it and say that we said it, but it was your true opinion. We don't hate the LGBTQIA community. We don't hate them. I
I
wouldn't even
don't hate.
I wouldn't pick up a rock and hit none of them. I wouldn't even cuss at them. I would do what I'm supposed to do. Speak to them when spoken to, love them when I need to. I don't have a problem with them. So don't put that on us. And remember, you guys, stay positive because you're all beautiful. That's my closing remarks.
Okay, we thank everybody for joining us in this show. The point that we are making is Charles Barkley does not represent the Black community. He is not a spokesperson, and I am sick of these people they find because now Charles Barkley is trying to say Black people do not like the LGBTQ community, that we are troublemakers with this. We got so many other things that we dealing with. Like this is the least of our concerns right now, Charles Barkley. It really is. It really is. So I want to just thank everybody for joining us. Um, I really, I wish people like Charles Barkley could be removed, but of course they like these type of people that still want to put the blame. Everybody always wants to blame the black community for everything. They want to blame black people for everything.
That's
So
true.
that's what I have a problem with. So Charles Barkley, go take your punk butt self down somewhere and sit down. And this is April Showers, and we out. Peace.